Hi, freedom fighters. How do you see the world? How do you see, think, and react to the challenges that life throws at you or the challenges that you give yourself? Because I'm confident that how you see the world, particularly at critical times, will make or break the level of success that you enjoy in any area of your life, in however you define success and what that means to you. And have you ever noticed we don't usually drown in the deep end, we drown in the drift? Because the most dangerous place in life isn't failure, it's comfort. Because comfort whispers, you've got time, things are fine, you can start next year. And then, without knowing it, 10 years later, you're still standing on that same ledge. So here's your pattern interrupt. If nothing changed from today, not your habits, not your thinking, not your strategy, where would your life actually end up? Would you choose that destination, or would you just tolerate it? I want you to really think about that. Because this year on Get Invested, I'm taking you step by step through my property wealth clock, a proven, repeatable process that the successful 5% followed to create actual sustainable success. And yes, it's framed through property, but it's much bigger than property. Because sustainable success in anything requires the right sequence and the right disciplines, all at the interdependent intersection of yourself, your health, and your wealth. So no shortcuts, no skip steps, no she'll be right strategy. And right now today, we're continuing to unpack stage 1 of property wealth, which is your W for why. Not why property, but why you. Because if your why isn't strong, life will eventually negotiate you down. Now, if you're new here to Get Invested, welcome aboard. And to make sure you gain the full benefit of this year-long progressive property wealth rollout, make sure you circle back 8 episodes to episode 414 that was released in the last week of December. It was titled Living by Design Part 1, The Power of Your Why. And to continue the flow, today's episode is a rolled gold release of my keynote presentation at the Wake Up Adelaide conference that was titled Diving into the Unknown. Because I want you to wake up to help you see differently, so that you can start to see in that same unique way that all of the 5% who actually end up achieving sustainable success really see the world. So here's what I promise you today. If you listen right through to the end, you'll learn how to read your future. So you'll have to tune in to hear what that actually means, because once you hear it, you'll never unsee where your time and freedom are actually leaking. And at the end, I'll let you know what you need to do to grab your copy of what I've called the Read Your Future Blueprint, which will be free for the first 100 freedom fighters who answer a simple challenge and then email me. So make sure you listen out for that right at the end of the episode. Now, let's take a deep breath, because the unknown isn't your enemy, drifting is. So let's get invested and let's dive in. Welcome to Get Invested on the Property Hub podcast channel, the leading weekly show for Australians who want to learn how to unlock their full self, health and wealth potential. I'm your host, Bushy Martin, and each week I go deep with the best investors, experts, leaders and founders to find out what it takes to break free from the grind, discover freedom and to live by design. Subscribe now and join me and get invested in the life that you really want. Let's get started. On the fateful day of the 6th of February 2014, 3 Finnish cave divers, Kai, Jari and Hamster, were about to make the biggest decisions in their lives. They just didn't know it yet. They were about to dive the biggest sump dive that had ever been completed. They were about to conquer the underwater version of Mount Everest. They travelled to the northern reaches of Norway in the Arctic Circle, and the plan was to dive 2 kilometres in undiscovered waters under the mountain to the other side. Cave diving is one of the most dangerous and extreme sports in the world. It's right up there with base jumping. And various sources will tell you that 1 out of 20 cave divers drown in the depths. The American Protection Cave Society defines a successful cave dive as one that you return from. Now, most cave divers who are playing it safe will dive for a maximum of an hour at a maximum safe depth of 40 metres. This dive that Kai, Yari and Hamster are about to undertake was anticipated to take 5 hours at a depth of 132 metres. Now, while that's only 3 times the depth, it's 30 times the water pressure. It's like being on another planet. This dive had the same degree of difficulty as the first landing on the moon. The plan was to scale down the mountain to the lake, chainsaw through feet of snow and ice to uncover the entry to the cave, and then dive into the deep and progress gradually down to 132 metres and then across the unknown undiscovered tunnels under the mountain to then emerge from another escape at the other end. Hamster entered the dark, freezing depths first, Yari followed, and Kai brought up the rear. 3 would enter the cave, but how many would return? The dive started really well. They were in absolute awe of the incredible water wonderland that they were experiencing. They progressed down from 30 to 60 to 90, 100, down to 132 metres. And as they did so, the cave walls closed in on them, along with the incredible water pressure and the suffocating darkness. It was like having your whole body pressed in a vice. And at those depths, every thought and every movement becomes extremely painful. And then, about 1,500 metres through the journey, the cave suddenly narrowed to a very thin sliver. They became sandwiched between the rocks with only just enough room to move. Now, no one really knows what happened next. There's no clear recollection. But as Kai came up behind Yari, he could sense that something was wrong. And then he heard a beep. The beep of breathing apparatus in distress. What had happened is that Hamster had got stuck with his gear, he'd struggled, and he panicked. And at those depths, panic means death. Hamster had drowned. Kai and Yari were beside themselves. They were blocked in the tunnel, 3/4 of the way through the journey, no way to move forward, and they were struck with the immediate realisation that they didn't know whether they had enough air to last the journey back. So what would you do? Let's put it to the test. At the count of 3, I'm going to get you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then hold it for as long as you can to see how long you would last. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Close your eyes. Now, while you're doing that, I want you to imagine that you're Kai and Yari, because you're about to make the most important decision in your life. It's a life and death decision. And the reason I'm telling you this is that the way you see and the way you respond in critical moments like this will give you an indication of how you're going to be able to last the distance to achieve any sustainable success in real life. You can now breathe and open your eyes. So what happened? Nothing. Yari immediately panicked. He started thrashing around in the water, and because of his rapid movement and his irregular breathing, without warning, he lost consciousness. His mouthpiece popped out, he inhaled water, and he drowned. Kai, understandably, was mortified. Rising emotions and a mix of fear and guilt and horror coursed through his veins. He didn't know what to do. He had to control himself, so he grabbed onto the rock and he started to slow his breathing because he knew if he didn't control his emotions, he would go exactly the same way as his two best friends. He glanced at his dive computer, and because of the activity, in horror, he realised that to decompress and return the 1,500 metres, he'd have to stay in the water for another 10 hours. They'd allowed for half of that. What happened? As he braced himself with both the guilt of leaving his dead friends, the grief that he was starting to feel, and the enormitude of the journey ahead, he was trying to contend with balancing the risks that he was going to have to overcome. He had the risk of dying of hypothermia because he was in almost freezing water. He had the risk that if he rose too quickly, he would die of the bends. And he had the risk if he took too long, he wouldn't have enough air to last the distance. The outcome? 11 and a half hours after entering the water, somehow, Kai dragged himself back out of the cave. All alone and without any help. I can't even imagine the mix of relief tinged with the sadness of the grief and the guilt that he felt as a consequence of that. But not only did Kai survive, he went on to thrive. A few months later, he owned his fear, he returned to the cave, and he rescued Yari and Hamster and returned them to his grieving family. They made an award-winning film about Kai's miraculous escape from the cave, and today he's a leading cave diver taking exploratory expeditions all over the world. But the question still remains, how did Kai see differently in those critical moments that allowed him to last the distance, to survive and then thrive? Because it's all in the way he saw it differently. And today I want to wake you up to help you to start to see differently. Back to front. Because at some stage, whether we've had it now or it'll happen in the future, we're all going to feel trapped, we're all going to feel overwhelmed, and we're all going to feel like we're drowning in despair, looking for a way out. So today, for the first time, I'm going to reveal our living design framework that's going to help you to see differently so that you can last the distance and enjoy success in whatever form that means to you. And the reason that Kai's journey resonates so strongly with me is that even though it's an extreme version, his way of seeing challenges echoes the way that I approach challenges in life. Because about 20 years ago, I too felt trapped. I felt like I was drowning in despair and I just couldn't see a way out. And I've got to be honest, with a mullet like that and those glasses, it's probably no great surprise. Good grief, what was I thinking? You see, I've been doing everything that I've been taught and everything that I've grown up with, pouring all of my blood, my sweat, my tears into building a career as a successful architect. I was a director of an international design firm. I was traveling around the world. I was running offices. I was working on some fantastic projects like the award-winning Ayers Rock Resort in Central Australia. I actually did the Adelaide Exhibition Hall, which is the first stage of the building that we're actually now in today. Now, in chasing that Australian dream, my plan at that stage was to work really hard, get married, have a kid, live in a beautiful home, have the massive mortgage. The idea was to pay that down, put money into super, and then, when I started to stop work, to tick off the bucket list and enjoy life. On the outside, my life looked amazing. On the inside, I was dying. I was working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, for years on end, non-stop, relentless. I had no time for anything else. Everything else suffered. I felt totally trapped. And I was in despair in this constant cycle of work and struggle. I ended up burnt out, broke, and broken. I lost my marriage. I lost my wealth. And I lost my self-worth. Then, luckily, a few years later, I was lucky enough to meet Sonia. And for the first time in my life, I actually felt accepted for who I am, not who I should be. That unconditional love that Sonia showed me and continues to do so had an amazing impact on my self-acceptance, my self-worth, and my self-belief. The power of two was born. 1 + 1 = 11. I was determined not to make the same mistakes. So one wintry Sunday afternoon, Sonia and I sat down in a restaurant in Clarendon, and with a serviette and a bottle of wine, using my architectural design skills, because that's something that comes naturally, we created the perfect picture of our ideal life, our dream lifestyle, in vivid colour. Our perfect day, our perfect week, our perfect month, our perfect year. We created a vision board about it, and it became the inspiration for everything that we did from that point on. And then we monetised it. There's no point working out your dream lifestyle and leaving it as a dream. We sat down and worked out how much does that lifestyle cost. It was the beginning of what we now call the freedom numbers. And around that time, I really got active. I needed to sort myself out. I started to invest in restoring myself, my health, and my wealth. I went to psychologists. I had counselling. I recited affirmations that I didn't believe initially. I started to watch my diet. I started to exercise regularly. I got back playing hockey. And I read every single book I could get my hands on self-development and sustainable growth. That was the key. And it's funny that when the student is ready, the teacher miraculously arrives. Because at about the same time, my dear old dad, who I'd always looked up to, his health collapsed. Dad, another typical Aussie guy, worked 7 days a week with a plan that he'd start to live when he retired. He never got there. He totally ignored his health. And I saw him try to survive through bowel cancer, through a number of strokes, and a whole bunch of health conditions that left him in a wheelchair, paralysed completely down his right-hand side for the last 10 years of his life, with mum sitting beside him as his carer. And I'll never forget that in his dying days, he looked me in the eye and he said, "Son, learn from me. Stop following my example. Stop working for money and start getting money to work for you. It absolutely rocked me, those words, because Dad had always been my role model. But it became my motto. Stop working for money and get money to work for you. About the same time, Sonia and I came to a Rich Dad, Poor Dad conference right here at the Adelaide Convention Centre, and a light bulb went off. It's what I now call my Kiyosaki moment. When he uttered the words, "The moment you make passive income a part of your life will change," that's exactly what happened. It was inspirational for us. We instantly knew that what we needed to do was generate income that didn't rely on us so that we had the time to do the things that we enjoy. Overnight, I started to see the world completely differently. It was revelational. And we became what I now call passive aggressive. We became passive aggressive about investing in passive income. Everything we invested our time then had to give us passive income, and it had to grow, and it had to be saleable. We went from pushing the spending stress snowball up the hill to the saving growth snowball running down the hill by itself, gathering momentum as it went. We shifted out the way we saw things from spending to saving, from income to investment, and from work to wealth. It was a complete change in the way we started to look at life. And as that realization occurred to me, I started to see this everywhere, the same pattern. In nature, if you plant a seed today, you don't get a full tree and fruit tomorrow. It takes 10 to 20 years. And that growth is exponential. It starts off very slowly. You see very little growth initially, and then suddenly it shoots up. I saw the same thing in our own journey from childhood through to adulthood. Exponential growth, 15 to 20 years. Exactly the same pattern. Elite sportsmen, same pattern. Greg Norman, Michael Jordan, Serena Williams. This is 20 years ago, so they're not current. Same pattern. They started slowly, and as their skill increased, over 10 to 20 years, they achieved sustainable success. In learning a musical instrument, the magic of 10,000 hours, 10 to 20 years to reach sustainable success. In business, Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, guess how long it took? Kelly, 15 to 20 years. And the same exponential growth. Kelly had a great slide of the exponential growth in her presentation. And investment was no different. Warren Buffett in shares, our own Australian Pete Wargent in property, 15 to 20 years to achieve the success, and a gradual upward growing curve. And the interesting thing about that is that for 80% of the time, there's virtually no growth at all. It's only in the last 20% that the magic happens. And it's the 80% where people lose faith and give up. But if you have the belief in yourself, and you have the belief in the process, and you're happy to stick to the knitting and do the hard yards for long enough, the growth will come. You just have to be able to last long enough. And I saw that of everyone that I studied, and believe you me, I read and looked at everything, only about 5% of them achieved that sustainable success. And the three things that separated them from the 95% were three simple things. They separated what they do from how they earn. They invested in multiple streams of income. They weren't relying on one, and they were all passive. And they focused on proven principles and proven people. The product came last. The property and the shares were the very last thing that they looked at. They got all of the other stuff right first. So we were set. That was it. Look out. We started saving and we started investing. We invested in shares enough to build up a deposit in our first property, because we were starting from zero at this stage. I had nothing when I restarted. And once we got into property, we gradually leveraged up over that 15 years to achieve a portfolio that's currently at 12 internationally. And believe you me, we made a lot of mistakes early on, no question about it. It took us a long time to perfect our freedom formula. But one of the key lessons I learned in the property field is that to last the distance, new build properties enable you to structure things so it doesn't cost you a cent, doesn't chew into salary, doesn't chew into savings. If you've got a really clever accountant and a good team around you, then you can continue to invest without impacting on your lifestyle. And thank heavens that we did. Thank heavens I took Dad's advice, because 5 years ago, at 4 o'clock, as I was out walking the dogs, I got the call that you never want to get. I could tell straight away that it was serious. It was our family doctor calling me to let me know that Mum had just been diagnosed with terminal cancer and she had 12 months to live. We were devastated. In particular, Mum had so much more to give and so many other people that she wanted to help. She was more worried about that than she was about herself. Mum was an amazing woman. She's the most selfless person that I've ever had the pleasure of spending time with, alongside my good wife, and she'll hate me for saying that, by the way. She was an absolute role model, and what I loved about Mum is that she spent all of her time giving tender, loving care to absolutely everyone that she met. She gave for free. And I recognised at that minute that it was my turn to give back to Mum. And the most valuable thing that I could give to Mum was my time. I took the 12 months out. And I saw Mum see cancer rob her of her mind, her body and her soul. Cancer's a bastard of a thing. And I saw her, I sat beside her, we had all of the hard conversations. We laughed together, we cried together, we reminisced, but nothing was left undone and nothing was left unsaid. I went to every appointment, every treatment. I was there with her if she wanted to talk or if she just wanted someone to cry on. And I was there to shield her from her friends when she could no longer bring herself to look them in the eye. Mum's last wish was to die at home. So we spent the time with her, we made her comfortable, and she died with dignity at home, in her own bed, with myself and my brothers around her. And this photo is Mum and I laughing at her cancer caps. That's how good Mum was. And that smile that you see is my smile. It's her legacy that she's left me. And while that was the toughest year that I've been through, in a really strange way, it was also the most fulfilling, because what I learned was something that Mum had always known, and that is that true fulfillment comes from freely giving to others without ever expecting anything in return. It was Mum's lasting legacy. But the only reason I was able to take that time out and spend that quality time with Mum is I had the freedom of time, because I'd taken Dad's advice, we'd got invested, and I didn't have to worry about money. Today, we live a fantastic lifestyle. As Jodie's already mentioned, we live on a fantastic property. We love spending time with our beautiful, smiling Samoyed dogs. They're our rescues and they're our children now, actually. We get to travel for 3 months of the year. We get to work if we want and when we want. And we work because we want to, not because we have to. There's a very different feel and a shift when that starts to happen. So when I look back on our vision board that we put together that 20 years ago, what's amazing about it is that just about everything on it has become a reality. Now, I will admit that being relaxed, calm, centered, and having harmony is still a little bit of a work in progress. And if anyone knows Sting, I'd love an introduction, because I'm definitely going to sing with him before I pass from the verse. So let me know. But in looking back on all of that, what I've come to realise is that I had to break it to make it. It was looking at the challenges that that we've worked through that have allowed us to become the people we are today. And what's even more exciting is the momentum that builds, that exponential curve that I'm talking about. Once you start achieving these things, it starts to feed on each other, as Kelly made some very good examples about. So I pinch myself now. I get to host a podcast and talk to amazing people. I've written a book. I never thought I would write a book. And I really get to engage and spend some time doing exciting things with awesome people. And the truth of that is, the only reason I do that is I can afford the time. I got invested. We give ourselves lots of TLC. But I'm going to talk more about TLC in a minute. Because the freedom formula that we've developed, it isn't just a set of principles. It's a way of life that can help you to break the chains. Now, I need to say that I'm not here to sell you anything. Property is not for everyone, but getting invested is. You choose your flavour, but you need to get invested. Because I believe there's never been a better time nor a greater need for people to get invested and give TLC. And anyone can do it. And I know that you can do it. Because I don't want you to end up here. Over 73% of retirees over the age of 65 are currently surviving on an average of $15,300 a year. That's $295 a week. Now, I don't know about you guys, but Sonia, I don't think that even covers our grocery bill. Wouldn't even go close. So, unless your super is going to be worth more than $2 million when you retire, and unless you're happy to see your lifestyle fall off the cliff when you try to stop work, or you're happy to work full-time until the day you die, you need to get invested. So today I want to wake you up to help you to start seeing differently. And I want to do that by giving you a GPS, not a roadmap. I could give you a roadmap on property, but property mightn't be your thing. But if I give you a GPS that helps you to identify what your dreams are, and then you can decide which way you're going to get there, then it's going to be much more effective in terms of you achieving your own dreams. But first we need to start seeing differently. And we need to move away from this, because we've got this false expectation that by concentrating everything and looking right here, right now, at our work and our income, that that's supposedly going to give us all our freedom and our success. That's a mirage. Because if we're putting all those eggs in that shrinking basket, we're going to be in trouble. Because as I've already started to discuss, true fulfillment comes when you've got time in your hands. And you only get time in your hands if you get invested. So let's have a look at how we see. We're going to take a bird's eye view, looking down to see what our field of vision is. And in our current instant iPhone everything world that we currently live in, we become very short-sighted. It's all about single focus. It's about here and now. It's about have it now and pay later. It's about immediate. If I see it, I should have it. And what that leads to, that instant gratification, it means that we become very reactive instead of proactive. It means we become very impatient instead of patient. And the end result, life happens to us. We don't make it happen. So the first thing we need to do is lift and widen our vision, to shift from looking at days to thinking and dreaming in decades. It means that we start with the end in mind. Take some time. The exercise we went through today with Jody, do the full exercise. It's going to be the best thing you ever do. Sonia and I do that once a year. We go to Bali and we take 4 days out and we revisit the vision because we get excited about it. So I want you to start thinking about your own vision. It can be a vision board. You can write a poem. You can write a letter to yourself. Record it on your iPhone. Tell people about it because it makes it real. And when you do that, what you'll find is if that vision is strong enough, it becomes both a magnet and a compass. A magnet in terms of You'll have such a strong desire to make it happen that nothing's going to get in the way, just like Kai. Kai imagined himself back in the arms of his loving wife and his family. That's what kept him going. There was nothing that was going to stop him. Because, as Einstein quotes, imagination is everything. It's the preview of life's coming attractions. It's the one skill that we've lost since leaving school. I used to love art and drawing. How many of us do it now? So if that vision is strong enough, then we'll be dedicated enough to make the time, to give us the freedom, to then enjoy the fulfillment I'm talking about. And that magnet will keep us moving towards it, but it also acts as a compass, because every decision that we make from this point on is all about, is it taking me closer to or further than the way that I want to be? But here's the fun part. Now I want you to learn to split your vision, to see differently through one eye than you do through the other. This is what the ancient Canadian Mi'kmaq Indians refer to as two-eye seeing. And two-eye seeing is the gift of parallel perception. It's dual vision, not double vision, it's dual vision. So let's break it down. Maybe we'll break it down. What we need to do is start seeing today through one eye and tomorrow through the other. It means that our today eye focuses on what we can say no to, so that our tomorrow eye can focus on the yes that matters. It means that our today eye focuses on our income and our immediate needs, whereas our tomorrow eye focuses on investment. It means that if our tomorrow eye has cleared the vision, then everything we're doing with our today eye is taking it us closer towards. And as those two visions merge, we can see it all and we can have it all. This battery must be jiggered, I reckon. Pointed at you? Okay, good one, Briley. But the way to start that process, and the key to set yourself up with this, is to continuously ask yourself one really simple question. What will I invest my time in today that's going to give me more time tomorrow? What will I invest my time in today that will give me more time tomorrow? You're giving your permission to spend your time today to invest in your future. It's a really simple question. So let's do a quick eye test so that I can sort of break down what each eye needs to focus on. Let's start with your today eye. Your today eye first needs to look at E for eliminate. You need to eliminate and cut out anything that's getting in the way of taking you to where you want to go. Kai eliminated any of his negative thinking so that he could control his emotions and control his breathing. And then your today eye focuses on A for automate. You need to automate, template, systemize anything that's important so you don't have to think about it and it becomes habit. With Kai, he automated his breathing into a very long, slow, easy pattern so that it could last a distance. For you, it's about automating your daily disciplines and your happy habits, putting the good stuff in first. And then your today eye focuses on D for delegate. This is about surrounding yourself with people that are better than you, getting over yourself, because there actually is someone who can do it better than yourself. And I say that because that's the biggest challenges that I've had. And then delegating everything to them so that one, you have more time yourself, and two, you focus your energy on the things that are important. I'm looking at you, Bri. Still looking at you. And if we bring those things together, and I've got a bad memory, so I've got some shocking acronyms, so bear with me on this. What it means that our today eye starts to read situations better. It means we repeatedly eliminate, automate, and delegate so that we're in a better position to be moving towards where we want to be. And then we switch to our tomorrow eye. This is our lateral creative eye. This is the eye that most of us have seen die on the vine because we no longer use our creative juices. Our tomorrow eye is where all the magic happens. And the tomorrow eye focuses around 3 simple universal laws of nature that I've already started to touch on. Your tomorrow eye starts with T for time. Now, as I've already discussed, any sustainable success takes time. 10 to 20 years. Now, what that means, as soon as you accept that, time becomes your friend, not your enemy. I see the whole world fighting against time. It creates a lot of stress. We put a lot of pressure and expectation on ourselves. But if we accept, if we believe in ourselves and we believe in the process, and we're going to go the 10 to 20 years, we can relax and enjoy the journey. We just keep doing the do. So what it means is, and what the 5%ers do, is they take the time now to invest in their future, and then they allow time to do its work, so then they get their time back. Not rocket science, but we don't take the time to do it. And then our tomorrow eye focuses on L for leverage. Now leverage, Bri, leverage, oops, we're fighting each other now. Leverage is using other people's expertise and other people's money to 10x your results. And leverage understands 2 important things. That investment is a game of finance. It's all about the numbers. And what that means for us in our own situation, our properties are money boxes in the shape of the house, nothing more. But what it also recognises is that leverage is about accepting that it's an elite team sport, like the mighty Richmond Tigers. Go, you Tigers! It's taken me 40 years to be able to say that. If that's not a testimony to TLC, then nothing is. It's recognising, as I've already mentioned, putting better people around you, because you're actually going to get better results if you do it that way, and give yourself time back to manage your managers, keep them honest, but then put your time into the things that count. And then finally, your tomorrow eye focuses on C for compounding. And this is magic. Let me give you a really quick example of the power of compounding. I'm going to offer to give you $3 million in cold hard cash right here, right now, or I'm going to give you 1 cent today, 2 cents tomorrow, doubling for a month. Who's going to take the 3 mil? Have your arms fallen off? No? You're all too smart in this room. I'm definitely in the right room here.
Yesterday.
Oh, all right. No one told me that. Yeah, okay. Well, that'll teach me for not being here, won't it, Jody? The reality is, though, that if you took the 1 cent doubling for 31 days, you'd end up with over $10.7 million in your pocket. That is the power of compounding, and that is the power of investment. And one of my favourites, Einstein, is famous for saying that compounding returns are the 8th wonder of the world. Did they say that yesterday? No? Okay, great. Awesome. But the clarification is important here. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And you probably all heard that quote, because what it means is that exponential curve that I've been talking about runs both ways. Because if you're not getting invested, if you're not following the daily disciplines, what happens is your life slides without you even realising it. You end up like a frog in a boiling pot. I think it's actually the reason why those retirees I spoke about end up surviving on $295 a week, because they're only focusing on the here, now and their income. They're not investing in their future. And if we combine time, leverage and compounding, I can't spell. surprisingly, we end up back with TLC. TLC is at the heart of it all. But TLC needs to be adopted across not just wealth. If we don't integrate TLC across ourself, our health, and our wealth together, and ignore any one of those, and nothing's going to be sustainable, you won't last the distance and you won't maintain it, then you need to incorporate them all. So we start with TLC for ourselves. And TLC, in terms of tender loving care for ourselves, means restoring self-belief, because self-belief leads to confidence, and confidence gives us courage. And courage is one of the key elements that we all need to tackle. Then we're in a position to give ourselves TLC for our health. By putting energies back into diet, exercise, rest, relaxation, and doing it religiously, we build trust in ourselves, which leads to trust in others. We build loyalty to the cause, and most importantly, we learn the habit of consistency. Success isn't an event, it's a journey. It's all about the consistency. And once we've established that consistency in our day-to-day patterns, then and only then are we in a position to start implementing and enjoying the fruits of TLC in terms of time leverage and compounding impacting on our wealth. It all comes back to TLC. And on a day-to-day basis, what that means is we need to make tiny little changes, TLC, to turn large corners. It's all about TLC. Your new pulse needs to become TLC, TLC, TLC. So let's bring this all together. That looks a bit overwhelming as a diagram, I know, but it is quite simple to understand. So let's break it down in terms of how Sonia and I have adopted this way of living by design to actually achieve the lifestyle that we now enjoy. And as we've already talked about, we started with the dream lifestyle. We've spent the time getting our vision down and we continuously revisit that. That's what energizes and excites us. That's what keeps us focused on spending the time so that we've got the freedom to enjoy the fulfillment. And then we start with our today I by reading the situations better. We start by repeatedly eliminating our bad habits and our bad spending. 20 years ago, we stopped reading the newspaper and we stopped listening to the news because we eliminated negative thought and scaremongering from our world. It gave us good time back and we could put that energy into listening and reading things that were actually going to energize us. We eliminated bad spending, what Sonia and I used to call doodads. If it wasn't contributing anything useful, we just didn't spend it. If I wanted to get a new shirt, I had to give one away. Really easy way of controlling that. And then we automated our happy habits and we automated our money management. We automated our happy habits by putting the big rocks in first, our morning rituals. So we wake up, we start with gratitude, we spend smile time with our Samoyed dogs. There's nothing better than a Samoyed smile to start your day. It's just awesome. And then we actively meditate by going for a walk, going to the gym, going for the swim. I then jump on the piano and I spend half an hour just putting a smile on my face. We enjoy an awesome coffee and then mid-morning we start to do something. We automated our money management. And I'm not going to bore you with the apps, you can talk to me about this later, but there's a really easy way of automating your money management. It's what we call our kick-ass saver system, where without us even needing to think about it, and on remote control, 20% of our income automatically goes to savings and investment. It's set and forget. And then we delegated. We've surrounded ourselves with awesome people, both inside the business and outside the business. Inside the business, we brought on board finance brokers and strategists because we know how critical that is to the end result. And then we've surrounded ourselves with a really good accountant, a really good buyer's agent, a really good project manager, and sensational property managers. And then all we do is manage the managers. We just keep them honest and then put our energy into things that matter, like being here, spending time with you and talking to great people on the podcast. We then switch to our creative left side and our tomorrow eye. And to last the distance, as I've touched on before, we realised that building new properties was the best and least painful way to last the distance to get to the other side, because we could structure it in such a way that those properties had no impact on our lifestyle. They didn't cost us anything. They self-funded and allowed us to continue to enjoy life. We then leveraged other people's money to 10 times our exposure to property so that we could effectively get 10 times the result, and structuring in a way that's really safe and affordable to make sure that we can last a distance. And lastly, we compound our returns. We take the growth and reinvest the growth to leapfrog the result. Put those together, we're reading situations better, we're giving ourselves lots of TLC, and we're loving life. That's the essence of living by design for us, and that's the basis of our freedom formula. And of course, it's all underpinned by that one central question that we need to ask ourselves each and every day. What will I invest my time in now that will give me more time tomorrow? Simple question, very few people ask it. Because the challenge I think we're up against now is that we're constantly bombarded by images of success and the summit. I mean, our Insta pages are full of this, and we see them and go, well, if they've got it, why haven't I got it? We can see the summit, but what we can't see, or we choose to ignore, is the chasm that we've got to go down and the mountain that we need to climb. It's why Kai survived. Kai knew where he wanted to end up. He wanted to end up back in the arms of his loving wife. But he knew he had a massive journey to get there, but he had the self-belief and the resilience to make that happen. You see, I believe that what separates us from even our biggest dreams has got nothing to do with how lucky we are, how skilled we are, how talented we are, but it's got everything to do with breaking our dreams down into small steps. It's how Kai survived. He knew where he wanted to end up, but he didn't think about that then. He just focused on the next breath, the next breath, the next breath. And the better he got at doing that, the more chance he had of surviving. A 1% improvement in something we do daily, guess what? We're 365% better at the end of the year. Marginal improvements that accumulate over time. We need to do the time. Because as we look to the future, I want to challenge you to take the route less travelled. I want you to see the summit, but I want you to embrace diving into the unknown, crossing the chasm, and then climbing the mountain to enjoy success in whatever definition that means to you. Because we all need to think about it. If we're at Comfort Cliff today, how are we going to make that journey? How are we going to last the 8 to 15 years to cross the chasm and then climb the summit to where we want to be? How are you going to last? Because the reality is, whether we like it or not, we're all standing on the verge. We've all seen how much change has occurred in the last 20 years. We ain't seen nothing yet. With automation and technology about to smash our world, if we don't take the step and we don't take the plunge to dive into the unknown, we're going to be pushed. There's absolutely no question about it. We're all going to need to take the dive. I heard something quoted recently that 47% of our current jobs won't exist in 10 years' time. That's half of the jobs in this room. I'm not sure which half, but it's half of the jobs in this room. So staying comfortable and staying what's perceived to be safe, I don't believe it's an option. I believe that the day of average is over. Good enough is just no longer going to be good enough. But with great change comes even greater opportunity. Because with technology and automation marching into our world, it actually gives us the opportunity to focus on the things that technology will never be able to do. And guess what that is? I bet you can't guess. It's moving from our head back to our heart. It's about care. And it starts and ends with TLC. Because as Seth Godin says, we need to shift from being other way around. We need to shift from being replaceable to remarkable. And the way that we can do that is to become what I call caring catalysts. Caring catalysts are creative, they connect, they communicate, and they become the conductors of the orchestras of their own life. That's a massive opportunity that we've got in front of us. So how are you going to last the distance? Now, I hear startup gurus, I've been to a lot of these functions where startup gurus talk about you just need to back yourself, to jump off the cliff, to get plan B, and just build your wings on the way down. Well, I don't know about you, but to a safe, conservative investor like me, that sounds like scary bullshit. I actually think it's the reason why 90% of startup businesses don't survive past the first 3 years. And I also think it's the reason why first-time investors sell up within the first 5 years, lose money, and never do it again. Because I keep seeing people who take a redundancy or they'll lose their job and they'll race out and start a business. Or they'll race off and invest in property and shares without doing the homework. And just about all of them end up financially underwater. So if we're going to do that, like Kai, we need to learn how to source better sources of air, and we need to slow our breathing down. Now that may be savings, but that's a pretty scary ride because savings generally don't last too long. What I see other people do is they step out off the cliff and they almost blindfold try and tightrope by juggling their full-time job with being a full-time investor. These are the people who don't trust anyone. They try and do it all themselves. And they try and reinvent the wheel. Now, the reason I know that, that's exactly how I started when we invested in property. We made some mistakes, and the issue with that is one financial slip, it's all over. Smarter ones have a safety net. And that safety net that'll help them to carry the other side can be a partner who's working to pay the bills while you build the business or you invest. Or it's setting up an equity war chest or a treasure chest that'll allow you a rainy day reserve to allow you to get there. Others will paraglide. And they'll paraglide by taking assisted flight. They'll invest the time in proven principles and they'll surround themselves with the best people. And this acts as an insurance policy to carry them across the chasm. But the really smart ones build a passive income balloon. It's a balloon that you fill with TLC. You use time, leverage and compounding to get you from the cliff to the summit. And yes, you need to put a bit of income air in it to start with. But as TLC takes effect, it carries you the distance safely and affordably without the stress and headache. So which way are you going to go? What decision will you make? Because like Kai and Yari, today is a big decision for you guys. You can either continue on your current path, follow the exponential curve down and rely on super and paying off your home, or you can become like Kai, see the summit, believe in yourself, have the resilience to do what needs to do to get you to the other end. So I want you to ask yourself the question, what's holding you back? And I've heard every excuse, and I think I actually used every excuse in the early days. It's, I'm too busy, I don't have enough time, I've tried this once, Bushy, and it didn't work, so I'm not going to do that again. You name it. When I do this, or if that, blah, blah, blah. The reality is we've actually all got the same amount of time as Gandhi, Mandela, all the greats. They've got the same amount of time that we do. So if you're waiting for the perfect time doesn't exist in my book. It's never going to come. And the world continues to be filled with gatekeepers and permission granters. Some real, most of them between our ears. So if you're waiting for permission, then this is it. You've just granted yourself permission. If you're waiting for a sign, then this is it. Get invested, get passive aggressive, give yourself TLC. Now, as I come to a close here, I want to congratulate you all for taking the time out of your very busy lives. That's 2 days, that's a massive commitment, because the time you're spending right here, right now, is putting you in the future 5%. And where the opportunity comes now is, what do you do next? Because it's the start that stops most people. Like Jody said, we get on a high, we race out, life gets in the road, and 6 months later, gee, I was, and I'm gonna. From now on, every morning when you wake up and you hear the alarm, or every time you look at your phone to check the time during the day, I want you to think TLC, and I want to ask yourself that question. What will I invest my time in today that will give me more time tomorrow? And hand on heart, if any of you need help in any of this, reach out to me. And if I can't help you, then I'm going to send you in the direction of all the fantastic people that you've got to hear and see over the last 2 days. And if you're looking for ongoing inspiration and you want to hear more of all the fantastic speakers that have been here at Wake Up Adelaide, if you haven't heard them on my podcast, Get Invested, jump on board, because I have this fantastic time talking to people across the full spectrum of self, health and wealth that share all of their secrets and experiences around how they have achieved their life success. I'd love you to join our growing family of freedom fighters. So to bring it to a close, I now help you to enjoy life seeing differently through TI seeing. You can now rest easy knowing that you're starting to give yourself TLC, because I want you to keep imagining your dream lifestyle, to get really clear on what it is. A life where you never have to worry about money again, and a life where you can take the time and have the freedom to give to others and enjoy the fulfillment that my dear old mum left as a legacy for me. And as you start to contemplate your freedom formula, and as your future unfolds, I want you to remind yourself of the words of wisdom of Joseph Campbell and Brené Brown. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. On the other side of your fear lies your freedom. Own the fear, find the cave, and rewrite your dream lifestyle. Choose courage over comfort. Choose love over fear. And choose the great adventure of being brave and afraid at exactly the same time. Because in the end, it's all about time. And thank you for your time. Well, thanks, freedom fighters. If my keynote has stirred something in you, good. Because drifting doesn't build freedom. Deliberate action does. The whole message of diving into the unknown is pretty simple. The unknown isn't the danger, comfort is. Sustainable success isn't luck, it isn't talent, it's a method, done in sequence without skipping steps. So here's your challenge. It's the same central question from the keynote. I want you to email me your honest answer to this one simple but potentially life-changing question. What will I invest my time in today that will give me more time tomorrow? Not what sounds good, not what impresses others, your real answer. So just click the email link in the show notes now and send it directly to me at bushy@khgroup.com.au and put in the subject line, Read Blueprint. And the first 100 freedom fighters who email me will receive a free copy of my exclusive Read Your Future Blueprint. Now, it isn't fluff. It's a practical field guide that's going to help you to identify where your time is leaking and audit what's keeping you stuck on the treadmill, so that you can then apply the READ framework to repeatedly eliminate, automate, and delegate, and build a 90-day buy your time back plan so you stop drifting and you start designing. But the first 100 emails only, and once they're gone, they're gone. Now, if you're looking for additional structure and momentum to keep you moving and keep you going in the right direction, you have a couple of ways to move forward. Firstly, you can tap into my recently released Property Wealth Program that comprehensively walks you step by step through the entire Property Wealth WALTH 6-stage process so that you can finally do property properly. And if you'd like to spend some time dedicated with me one-on-one to help unlock what's holding you back and to help move you forward, then feel free to book in for a personal solution session via the show notes link. But no pressure, just pathways if and when you need them. So as we close, here's some further food for thought. If your calendar and your bank statement don't reflect your why, then something else is steering your life. And sadly, it's usually comfort, disguised as logic. And here's my quote of the week. The future is created by what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally intend. Meaning, intentions feel good, but active repetition changes lives. So, freedom fighters, thanks for tuning in. And if this episode has made you think, feel free to share it with a friend who needs a timely pat interrupt. Because sometimes just one conversation can change a life's trajectory. So as we close for another week, I want you to remember to invest in your knowledge before you invest in assets. Make sure you dream as if you'll live forever and live as if you're going to die tomorrow. And always, always get invested. Thanks for tuning in to Get Invested on the Property Hub podcast channel, your home for property investment insights and inspiration. Make sure you subscribe to Property Hub for free. Get your weekly dose of Get Invested inspiration along with every episode of Realty Talk, Australia's top online property show for red-hot property investing news and insights direct from industry leaders and influencers. And finally, I'll see you next time.